certainly takes courage to step out of the comfort zone to start to show acts of kindness. So, the birthing of the World Kindness Movement happened in 1963 with Japan.
Well, the first national campaign was in 63, but the Japan 30 years later, in 97, after an ASEAN meeting, held a after party, for the want of a better word, and delegates were invited to attend about the idea of establishing a coalition of the good-willing, as opposed to a coalition of the willing to blow the crap out of your country. So Australia attended, and a lot of Southeast Asian countries attended, Canada and America and not the UK. And it was deemed the World Kindness Day would be on the 13th of November, and they formed the World Kindness Movement as a movement. So it's very fluid, and it had some very strict criteria. So you cannot become a member unless your organisation's primary purpose is to promote kindness. That means the Red Cross could not join. That means that the Catholic Church could not join. That means that the Salvation Army could not join, or anyone could join unless they had a primary purpose which was focused on kindness. But they were also worried about, in the 90s, about big business and political persuasion hijacking the agenda for their own interests. So they made it really difficult for that to happen, but at the same time they limited their engagement, and that's what I identified. So they approached me back in 2009 after I got involved in a simple campaign at my daughter's school, which in a very short space of time went viral, and the department assisted us, and we had 400 events in 3 months. And with that, we got on the radar of the Singapore government, and they wanted to know who I was. And I just said, I'm a dad. And they said, look, we meet every 2 years. Australia's been active, but we haven't seen any action in Australia for 6 years. Would you be prepared to carry on the gauntlet? And if so, would you be prepared to host the General Assembly? And that's pretty exciting, right? I'm just a dad who's doing a school event, and it's got international attention from the Singapore government. So I'm pretty excited until, and I'm not listening. And I'm thinking host and MC. It didn't really, so I'm interpreting this as, will you MC the event? I'm thrilled. But there's a slight difference in host and MC, about $40,000 difference. So I quickly went back to the Department of Education after realising what I agreed to do, and said, great news, the peak global kindness body has decided to come and have their General Assembly in Sydney because of what you've been doing. And that was, and fortunately they got excited. So we hosted it, and they were suitably impressed. And then they officially invited me to become a member. And at the time, I didn't belong to any NGOs. Well, I was a member of my sailing club, but I don't sail. I was only there for the harbourside dining. And so I had to do some due diligence, which I did. And then in 2012, I presented, if we're going to do this, this is what we need to do. So I presented a strategic plan on how we change the world. And the international community liked it. And I was the first elected Secretary General because it had gone not just from a government agency, but it had gone from an Asian country to a Western country for the very first time. So it was ambitious.
Is Australia playing a key or lead role now with the World Kindness Movement?
Well, there's an international council, and we have a seat on the international council. So I stepped down as the Secretary General to focus on the World Kindness USA, but we have somebody from WKA who's prepared to step in and be an executive member to contribute to the future of the movement.
And what are the sort of things members need to be keeping in mind, apart from stepping out of their comfort zone and having the courage to do acts of kindness, to become a fully pledged member of the World Kindness Movement?
Well, we expect everyone to, we give a guideline, KPIs, kindness performance indicators. So, for example, Bass, if what's the TV? I was going to say MTV,
WTV.
WTV or MTV decides that they would like to officially be involved, then there needs to be a motion passed by the board, and that motion needs to be unanimous. And that part of that motion is to declare support for a kinder world and the endeavours of world kindness, name of country, and appoint someone in the organisation to be a voluntary representative, which we would call a goodwill ambassador, who would network and drive the campaign leading up to World Kindness Day. They would have World Kindness Day on their calendar, and they would ensure that they would be participating, mentioning, promoting, or doing something on the 13th of November each year. They would also be looking at nominations within their organisation. They may adopt a kindness clause in their contracts. And we wrote a kindness clause which is now adopted into the Constitution. And funnily enough, before it was passed, a New Zealand law firm had adopted it for their shareholders' agreements. And that kindness clause is designed more to be a fail-safe, a self-audit U-turn. Because the only time you go to look at your contract, apart from the time you sign it, is when you sign it, you're in agreement. The next time you look at it, there's a potential disagreement.
You're ending it.
Well, you're looking for something to either get your head out of a lynch or put someone else's head into a lynch. And if there's a clause in there that says, and ask yourself, have you used your best endeavours to seek a kinder option? Have all your conversations about this issue and the person involved been with the best of intent behind closed doors? Have you reached out and invited them to sit down and have a civil cup of coffee with you? Or in the event that it is toxic, have you asked someone else to help intervene? And if that's the case, then maybe it needs to have further involvement. But the odds are that didn't happen. The odds are that not all your actions were the kinder option. Maybe the moment you put your finger on the keyboard and send that email could have been easily averted simply by picking up a phone instead of asking, can we catch up and have a chat? And that's de-escalating. That's going to solve a lot of problems and a lot of money down the track, because when you come in from a foundation of kindness, it's not about playing the person. It's about playing the ball. And this is something we need to learn, not just on the sports field, but we need to learn it in all aspects of our life, even in marriage.
Absolutely. Especially in marriage, I think, to keep a happy marriage.